Welcome to my channel and welcome to the video where I will talk about my Easter coloring books. Fun thing is that even with my huge collection of books, I always have a lack of beautiful Easter pictures. When I just started to color, when I just started to collect books, I was so envious by people coloring beautiful spring Easter pictures, so I tried to find something in my books. And my first page which I managed to find in my books, it was a Sweet Chopin book with Easter sweets. At that moment I was extremely happy that I can color at least something dedicated to Easter. Yes, I know that there are freebie pictures, but I have problems with printing in normal quality, so I rarely do it. And I have to search through my books. So, Sweet Chopin. It's a lovely page, and I remember that I was very happy that I can color something. The only problem here was that this book, even if it's printed on good paper, good for pencils and good for watercolor, which I used here everywhere, it was a nice practice, but this book has a lot of black paint for lines, for shading between objects, for shading on the objects. So honestly, I prefer Easter pictures to be much lighter, much cheerful, with a lot of pastel shades, pastel colors, and probably normal Easter palette I managed to keep only for this Easter eggs, maybe here. They reminded me about German traditions, German fairs, probably because of those printed ornaments on gingerbread, those decorated eggs. So it was fun to color, especially how to color chocolate rabbits with chocolate chicken with watercolor. So it helped me a lot, but in the end I can't say that it's done exactly in the color palette which I prefer for Easter. Next year I simply had to find something which has maybe chickens, maybe eggs, or maybe a rabbit. And I managed to print on toned paper this beautiful rabbit. I still think that it's very lovely. It's one of the pictures which taught me that coloring on paper specially designed for drawing, on textured paper, on colored paper, it's totally different experience from coloring in the books, especially when you color white fur. To do white fur here, it was extremely easy because white pencil was nicely visible against this delicate green background, and on white paper you need to show only shadows on the white fur. And usually my white animals, they look much more dirty comparing to this beauty. So it's lovely, but I can't say that it's exactly Easter. Yes, I colored it for beginning of spring, for Easter, with such thoughts, but, well, I wouldn't say that, yeah, it has all elements of Easter picture. For several next years, during Easter time, I colored only in Sagar or Zagner, and again each page which had birds or eggs or a rabbit, I considered it as an Easter picture. As usual, I forgot to put bookmarks, sorry guys. This is my much suffered rabbit. It wasn't bad. Yeah, the depiction of this rabbit by Emily was a little bit cartoonish, but still with these huge eyes and huge ears. It was lovely. But here I struggled a lot with background. Usually I do background in this book using acrylic paints. And here I tried to do this gradient with several shades of yellow-green colors, and I'm not good at blending acrylic paints. So later, when I wasn't happy how I covered the background, there were visible brush strokes and bald areas, I decided to mask it first with this strange soap looking bubbles, and then with this shape of the egg. Just don't ask me what I was thinking. Apart from these strange things and slightly creepy look on the face of the bunny, I think that it's not bad. I love those crocus and those muscari flowers, even if they look simple, but still, at least they look not so bad. Next, I think that it was a nice coloring because it has really very interesting color palette. Maybe again, it's not exactly Easter page, but birds, eggs, I consider it. At least I remember that I colored it for Easter season because I simply didn't have anything else. Well, I think that it looks nice because here we immediately concentrate on the eggs. They are focal point here inside of the nest. We have nice interesting background and I do love those golden birds. Another totally failed attempt to do Easter page was again due to my lack of skills how to work with acrylic for the background. Again, I wanted to do gradient from darker into lighter blue and then into something maybe beige, maybe green to imitate a surface where the cap is standing. So the central image, I think that I managed to do it nice, especially considering that it was like 6 years ago. So I love shading here, I love birds, nice eggs, lovely branches and grasses here, but this background, which first looked terrible, but then I tried to mask it a little bit with some stencils and white paint, well, it almost ruined the whole page. Finally, when I started to collect more books, my collection finally had some books with proper Easter pictures, I can show you something decent. And this one is a Rhapsody in the Forest by Kanoko Yagusa. And I would say that it was my first normal Easter picture here. Even if again it's very old, maybe 5 years old, I would say that it's not bad. When I colored this page, I almost didn't mask any lines. You can see it even on flowers, on the eggs, because I had only white gel pen, so I simply didn't use it, only on the smaller eggs. But the color palette is pleasant. It's very easy to color flowers and chickens depicted by Kanoko Yagusa. Very helpful, very delicate shading. So here I already started to learn how to shade properly this very fluffy tiny yellow feathers on the chickens. So this one, I think that it's nice, and I'm glad that I didn't overwhelm it with anything very active, very complicated on the background. Unfortunately, that's the error which I repeat very often for my Easter pictures. You will see it later. So this one, I think that it's exactly how Easter picture I can imagine. Nice pastel delicate colors, spring spirit, a lot of air, and of course a lot of spring flowers. Surprisingly, I have quite nice Easter picture in Botanicum. You know that I have huge problems coloring in any of Maria Trolle books, but I think that here, apart from dirty background, everything went quite well. You can see that here I already tried to color in more painterly way. I masked lines on flowers, on the leaves. I even added additional tiny white flowers. I think that they added some freshness, more realistic look to the area of grass. I added additional branches of grass to the area near the nest. My only question here was color which I selected for the eggs. Maybe not the best one, because the rest of this page it was done in more natural calm colors, so maybe a slightly different hue of blue, maybe more turquoise color would be better. But still, comparing to my other pictures in Maria Trolle, this one wasn't bad, and I do love how I did fur on the head of the rabbit again. I don't like how Maria Trolle depict animals, but this one, it was okay. This background, it didn't work quite well because I used, I think, that Neocolor crayons. Then I tried to add a little bit of water-soluble pencils, and some of the areas, they looked dirty again for my taste. I decided that white spots, white dots can lighten a little bit this top part. My biggest problem with Maria Trolle is how unbalanced are her compositions. That if we have very busy page here, usually on top part, on many pictures we have empty area and we need to fill it somehow. Here I failed such attempt by doing this green gradient. If we would have some maybe flowers here, some branches, it would be much easier to color. Next book, it's Airy Romantic Country's second tale. Here I put myself into quite big challenge, because when I started to do this page, I wanted to show that this tree decorated with Easter eggs is highlighted by those rays of light coming through the window behind, and I wanted to show them properly here. It was challenging, so I spent a lot of time on this central part and it didn't look so bad, but I think that something isn't right with the color of the wallpaper. Maybe it's slightly distracting. Or maybe color for the curtains. Maybe if I would select something else, eggs would be better visible. But all other parts, separate eggs, chocolate eggs here, basket with eggs, it was fun to color. So maybe even if it's far from perfect, I had a lot of fun coloring this one. Well, maybe now I would do slightly more intense, slightly darker shadows for beneath the table, maybe beneath the window, but the idea was interesting and I tried several ways how to show those rays of light coming through the glass. Maybe not everything was successful, but it was instructive. And again, my favorite color palette, this very fresh green, a lot of pastel colors. I always try to use lavender, lilac and blush pink from Prismacolor set, so at least it maintains Easter palette. Last year my Easter coloring was saved due to the Magic Mouse Spring. One of these pictures may be not perfect technically, because I totally ruined the look of this OLED. It looks terrified or wet, I don't know. But the idea here is extremely attractive for me. How they all gathered to decorate Easter eggs, how they decorate it according to their proper skills. Somehow maybe less successful, somehow more successful. I think that idea is perfect for the spirit of Easter. I masked some of the ornaments which didn't work well with my conception for one pattern for each of the heroes here for this page, so I used a lot of white paint to cover egg. So apart from the strange look of the feathers on the OLED, this one is not bad, but my favorite is the second one when they have the eggs hunt. Here, I think that everything here worked exactly like I imagined. I do love slightly unusual color for the sky, how I did this glowing egg, maybe the most precious among all the hidden eggs, and that they all also participate post-bug and the worm, they all also have their own eggs. And I think that it's definitely one of my best finished Easter pictures, even if it's in this children's style, but I don't mind. And finally, I have Symphony of Cute Animals. One page which I also did last year, and that's why I told that very often I almost ruin my Easter pictures with active backgrounds. Maybe that's not what I need. So this one I did last year. I started again with my favorite colors to do eggs. I divided them into color groups, couple of yellow, couple of pink. It was fun to color because animals are small. It's not very frightening to do fur on them. Flowers are nice, even if I always manage to do not very good shading on daffodils, tulips in various colors, pansies. It was a huge pleasure to color. But then I started to think what to do with the background. And it was the moment when I purchased a set of Arctic's markers. They are acrylic and they have brush. I thought that maybe because of the brush tip, markers like this one. Color was pleasant and I decided that maybe I can use it to fill in background area. I didn't want to spend time doing it with pencils, but I didn't consider that maybe it doesn't work properly on this paper. Every time when I overlapped area with second layer of brush strokes, there were visible border. So first layer was okay, but when I accidentally put second layer, trying to correct some mistakes or simply when area was bigger, there are not very pleasant borders between such layers. And finally, that's page where I'm working now. And again, I do love how I started it with the main image, but I think that this background, maybe it's definitely not the best thing. It's still work in progress, so I hope that when I do central image, when it has more vibrant colors, because of course flowers, they will have vibrant spring colors, maybe background will look better, because now it's so active that it definitely distracts attention from the egg. Maybe I will try to mask this lilac color with something lighter, sprinkling it with white or blue. And it's another reminder for myself that for Easter pictures you probably have to work with very light, very pastel colors if you want to achieve this very fresh, airy look. So that was my story of Easter pictures. Unfortunately, that was the one and only Easter page for this season which I managed to find. The only one other uncolored Easter page I have in spring by Teresa Goodrich, but I totally dislike it. And I have several freebie pictures in PDF by Tatiana Bagema, but I can't print them now. What I will do next year, I don't know, but it will be a problem for the next year. Now I just want to concentrate on finishing this beauty because picture is lovely. Last year I didn't start it because I saw many variations of this page by other artists and all of them were extremely nice. This time I decided to start early when my Instagram or Facebook aren't full of the same image, so I'm sure that my ideas are my own and I hope to finish it very soon. Thank you for watching and I hope that it wasn't very boring. I don't do many Easter pictures, but at least one during the season I like to do, and I hope that I will manage to find some nice new Easter pictures for the next season.